The first rule of the Thornwood was simple: never enter after dusk. Alara had broken that rule 3 times this month alone, and tonight would make it 4. The moonflower only bloomed in darkness, its petals drinking in starlight until they glowed with pale luminescence. One stem could feed Wren for a week. A handful could pay their rent for a month. So Alara pushed deeper into the forest, ignoring the shadows that writhed between ancient trees, ignoring the prickling at the back of her neck that screamed danger. Her worn satchel already held wild sage and witch hazel, feverfew and dried nettle root, healing herbs that most people bought from respectable apothecaries. But Ilara couldn't afford those prices, not when every copper went toward keeping her 15-year-old sister alive. The moonflowers grew near the heart of the thornwood, where trees grew so thick that even moonlight struggled to penetrate. Alara's fingers traced the familiar path along bark and stone, her feet finding purchase on memorized ground. Almost there, she told herself, even as unease coiled tighter in her stomach. Then she smelled smoke. Not the pleasant wood smoke of hearth fires, but the acrid, wrong smell of wildfire spreading through dry timber. Alara's blood turned to ice. Fire in the thornwood could consume everything, reaching the village of Ashbourne where Wren waited. She should run, should flee back, and pray the flames didn't follow. Instead, she heard the howl, a sound of pure agony, raw and desperate, echoing through the trees with such force that Alara felt it vibrate in her chest. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her healer's heart pulled her forward. Alara ran toward the fire. The heat hit first, a wall of scorching air that dried her throat and stung her green eyes. Through the smoke, she saw the source, a deliberate ring of flames, carefully constructed to trap something within. In the center lay a wolf. But this was no ordinary wolf. Even dying, even wreathed in smoke and flame, it was magnificent. Easily the size of a horse, its silver-gray fur shimmered despite the soot coating it, with paws large as dinner plates and fangs gleaming white against black gums. And it was staring directly at her. Those eyes, ancient gold, burning brighter than the surrounding flames, locked onto Alara with an intelligence that stole her breath. This wasn't an animal. This was a being, aware and pleading silently for help. "Hunters," Alara whispered, recognizing the deliberate construction. The king's men had been sweeping through the thornwood for weeks, hunting what they called unnatural beasts. Her grandmother's warnings echoed. "Stay away from them, child. The wolf kind bring nothing but death and madness." The wolf tried to stand and collapsed, its body shuddering. Burns covered its flanks, and something dark, poison, spread from wounds that looked too precise to be accidental. Silver-tipped arrows. The hunters had shot it with silver before trapping it, in flames to watch it die. The cruelty made her sick. Alara's hand moved to her satchel, to the small glass vial nestled among her herbs. Moon water, condensed from mist on a lunar eclipse night, blessed by old magic. The most valuable thing she owned. Irreplaceable and precious. She'd been saving it for Wren, for the next time her sister's weak lungs seized. This wolf would die without it, and Wren might die the next time winter came. Choose, her practical mind demanded, your sister or a monster. But those amber eyes held such desperate hope, such profound trust, despite having no reason to trust any human. "Damn it," Alara breathed, and she was already moving. The flames were dying, having consumed the easily burned brush. Alara leaped over the lowest section, her skirt singeing, her lungs burning as she inhaled superheated air. She dropped to her knees beside the wolf's head, fumbling with the vial's stopper. Up close, the creature was even more imposing. Its head alone was larger than her entire torso, those fangs capable of tearing her apart. But when she uncorked the vial, the wolf went completely still, watching her with something like wonder. "This is probably the stupidest thing I've ever done," Alara muttered, tipping the precious liquid between the wolf's jaws. The moonwater glowed faintly, spreading luminescence down its throat. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the wolf's entire body began to shine from within, that soft, silvery light growing brighter until Alara had to shield her eyes. The light exploded outward in a pulse that knocked Alara backward. She landed hard on scorched earth, gasping. When her sight cleared, the wolf was gone. In its place knelt a man. Alara's breath caught. He was bare-skinned and powerful, all lean muscle and broad shoulders, with silver-streaked black hair falling past his jaw. Sharp cheekbones and a strong jaw. Lips pressed thin with pain, and those same impossible golden eyes now set in a devastatingly beautiful face. The burns that had covered the wolf's flanks now marked the man's ribs and arms. The silver-poisoned arrow wounds bled sluggishly at his shoulder and thigh. But he was moving, pushing himself up on shaking arms, his gaze fixed on her with startling intensity. "You," he breathed, his voice rough as gravel and deep as thunder, speaking the common tongue with a strange musical accent. "You saved me." Alara couldn't form words. A man. The wolf had been a man. The stories were true. And she'd just saved one of the cursed wolf kind with her last irreplaceable treasure. "What have I done?" The man tried to stand and swayed dangerously. Without thinking, Alara darted forward to catch his arm and immediately regretted it. His skin burned hot beneath her touch. And the moment contact was made, something electric shot up her arm. A jolt of power that felt like lightning and moonlight and wild magic. His eyes widened, nostrils flaring as if catching a shocking scent. His free hand rose to cup her face with surprising gentleness, his palm rough with calluses, but his touch reverent. Those golden eyes searched hers with desperate intensity. Then he spoke a single word that changed everything. "Mine." The word resonated through Alara's chest like the ringing of a great bell, settling into her bones with eternal weight. She didn't understand what it meant, but every instinct screamed it was important, that this stranger had just claimed something she didn't know she was offering. "What?" she began. The sound of horns shattered the moment. The man's head snapped toward the noise, his entire body going rigid. When he looked back at Alara, his eyes had gone hard and deadly. He released her face, but his hand caught her wrist instead, his grip iron-strong despite his wounds. "Run," he commanded, his voice dropping to a growl that was more wolf than man. "The hunters are coming." Alara didn't run. She pulled. "This way," she hissed, tugging at the wounded man. "I know these woods. They don't." For a moment she thought he might refuse. His jaw clenched, his body tensed as if preparing to fight. Then another horn blast echoed closer, and he nodded sharply. "Lead." They moved through the thornwood like ghosts, Alara navigating by memory and moonlight, while the stranger followed with surprising silence. She could hear him breathing hard, the occasional hiss of pain when his injuries pulled, but he never slowed. The horns sounded twice more, their calls overlapping as the hunters spread out. They were searching in a pattern, cutting off escape routes, driving prey toward a killing ground. "Here," she whispered, pulling him toward a narrow deer trail hidden behind a fallen oak. "It's tight, but I know." His hand slid from her wrist to her hand, fingers threading through hers in a way that felt far too intimate for strangers. "I can smell your path. Your scent is clear." Something about how he said it, the hunger in his voice, made heat bloom in Alara's cheeks. She focused on navigating the trail, on ignoring the strange tingles his touch sent up her arm. They emerged near the village outskirts. Alara's home sat at the very edge, a small, weathered structure with a thatched roof and an overgrown garden. Perfect for a poor healer who needed privacy. "Inside," she said, pulling him toward the door. Quickly, before light flared behind them. Torchlight. "There, the beast went this way." Alara's blood turned to ice. They'd been tracked. She shoved the door open and practically dragged the stranger inside, slamming it shut and throwing the bolt. "Ren," she called. "Get to the cellar now." "Ellie?" Her sister appeared in the bedroom doorway, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Then she saw the naked, bloody stranger and froze. "Holy gods! Cellar, now!" Alara used her "you will obey me" voice. "Don't come out until I call, no matter what you hear." For once, Ren didn't argue. She vanished toward the trap door hidden beneath their worn rug. The stranger had moved to the window, peering through closed shutters. 6 men, well-armed, silver weapons and wolfsbane oil. "You can see them from here?" Alara asked. "I can smell them." He turned to face her, and in the candlelight, his eyes seemed to glow. "You need to give me up. Tell them I forced my way inside. They'll take me and leave you in peace." "Absolutely not." Alara grabbed his uninjured arm and pulled him toward her small healing room, barely more than a closet with a cot and a table covered in jars. "Get in here. Not a sound, no matter what happens. You don't understand what I am. I understand those men murder for sport and call it justice." Alara shoved him, pointlessly since he was immovable, but he stepped back anyway. "I understand you're wounded and poisoned and in no condition to fight. So get in this room and be quiet." Something shifted in his expression. Surprise? Or respect? His hand rose to cup her cheek again, that same reverent gesture. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Alara." Her heart raced. "Alara Finch." "Alara?" He said it like a prayer. "I am Kale, and I swear, no harm will come to you or yours while I live." Then he was kissing her. Not her mouth, but the tender spot where her neck met her shoulder, pressing there with shocking intimacy. Alara gasped, her hands flying to his chest to push him away. But the moment his mouth touched her skin, that strange electric sensation flooded through her entire body, stealing breath and reason. "Mine," he murmured against her throat. "My." Pounding at the door shattered the moment. "Open up! King's hunters! We're tracking a dangerous creature." Kale pulled back, eyes blazing gold. For a heartbeat she thought he might refuse to hide. Then he nodded once and slipped into the healing room, silent as smoke. Alara took 3 breaths to steady herself, smoothed her skirts, and opened the door. 6 men stood on her threshold, all wearing the king's crest and carrying silver-tipped spears. The leader was tall with a cruel mouth and cold eyes that swept over her with obvious disdain. "Healer woman," he said without courtesy. "We're hunting a wolf beast. Did it pass this way?" "A wolf?" Alara forced confusion into her voice. "I've seen no wolves, sir. Only heard horns that woke me. It was wounded. Bleeding." His eyes narrowed. "You'd know if it had been here. The creatures stink of wild magic." "I smell only my herbs, sir. Sage and lavender." "Search the house," the leader ordered. Alara's heart stopped. "You have no right." "We have every right." He pushed past her. "The king's law grants us authority to search any dwelling when hunting the cursed wolf kind." They tore through her small home with casual brutality, overturning herb jars, upending her carefully organized supplies. One hunter yanked open the cellar door. Alara's heart seized, but found only dusty storage and cowering Ren, who he dismissed with a sneer. Then the leader moved toward the healing room. "That's my medicine stores," Alara said quickly. "Very delicate preparations." "Then you'll make more." He reached for the handle. Time slowed. In seconds, they would find Kale, wounded and weaponless, and they would kill him in her home. The door swung open. The healing room was empty. Alara stared at the small space that should have held a large, naked, bleeding man. The cot was undisturbed. Her jars stood in neat rows. The window, barely large enough for a child, was firmly shuttered from inside. "Nothing here," the hunter grunted, slamming the door. "Beast must have kept running." They filed out, the leader pausing to fix Alara with a hard stare. If you see anything unusual, report it immediately. The wolf kind are abominations, cursed creatures that wear human skin. Trust nothing they say. Of course, sir, Alara managed. The moment they were gone, she locked the door and ran to the healing room. Still empty. But the cot was warm, and the faintest impression of a large body remained. Kyle? She whispered. The air shimmered. He appeared as if stepping through an invisible curtain, his body solidifying where nothing had been. Ilara stumbled backward with a startled cry. Forgive me. His voice was strained. Concealment is a minor gift, but it requires concentration. I couldn't maintain it much longer. You can turn invisible? Ilara pressed a hand to her racing heart. What are you? What I am. He swayed, catching himself against the wall. Is dying. For the first time, Ilara really looked at his wounds. The burns were bad enough, but the silver-poisoned arrow injuries had spread dark veins across his skin, black tendrils creeping toward his heart. She'd seen similar wounds when the king's men had executed a witch in the village square. Silver poisoning. A slow, agonizing death. Sit, she commanded, falling into her healer role. Let me see. Kale obeyed, sinking onto her cot. This close, she could see fine tremors running through his body, feel the heat radiating from his skin. Fever. The poison was spreading fast. Alara's hands moved automatically, gathering supplies. Charcoal to draw toxins, comfrey to promote healing, willow bark for fever. But even as she worked, she knew it wouldn't be enough. This poison was designed to kill his kind, and her conventional remedies might slow it but couldn't stop it. You used your moon water on me, Kale said quietly. Your last vial. How did you? I could taste it. Feel its power. His amber eyes held hers. That water was meant for someone else. Someone you love. Alara's hands stilled. My sister, Ren. She has weak lungs. The moon water would have... She swallowed hard. It doesn't matter now. It matters. His hand covered hers. You gave up something precious to save a stranger. Why? Because you needed it more. The words came sharper than intended. And because those men are monsters who set fires and call it hunting. Kale's expression softened. You have a fierce heart, Ilara Finch. And you have silver poisoning that's going to kill you if I can't. She broke off as his hand tightened on hers. His eyes had gone unfocused, his breathing ragged. Kale? The poison. He gritted out. Moving faster. Can't. The wolf wants... His body convulsed. Ilara watched in horror as his eyes flashed from gold to black and back, as his teeth lengthened into fangs. He was fighting the shift, fighting to stay human while poison and injuries drove his body toward wolf form. Let it happen, she urged. If you need to change. No. His voice was barely human, rough and growling. Can't control, in wolf form. Might hurt you. Can't. Won't. Another convulsion racked his body. His hand clamped around her wrist, not hard enough to bruise, but firm enough to tell her he was losing control. Those black eyes fixed on her face with desperate hunger. Mine, he growled, the word slurred. Mate. Mine. Then his teeth sank deep into the spot where her neck met her shoulder, breaking skin, drinking her blood in deep, desperate pulls. Ilara screamed. The pain was immediate and shocking, white-hot agony radiating from the bite through her entire body. She tried to pull away, but his arm came around her waist, holding her against his chest with inhuman strength. She could feel him drinking, feel the pull of her blood leaving her body. He's going to kill me, she thought with strange clarity. But even as the thought formed, the pain began to change. Heat flooded through her veins, starting at the bite and spreading outward like wildfire. Not painful now, but overwhelming, intoxicating. Her heart raced, her skin flushed, and suddenly she wasn't trying to escape. Her hands fisted in his hair, holding him closer. What was happening to her? Cal made a sound against her throat. something between a growl and a moan. His tongue swept across the wound, and Alara felt her knees go weak. She would have fallen if not for his arm supporting her. Then, as suddenly as it began, it stopped. Kyle's mouth left her throat. His arm loosened. When Alara managed to focus, she found him staring at her with wide, horrified eyes that were once again golden. "What did I—" He released her so quickly she stumbled. "No. No, I couldn't have. I wouldn't—" But the blood on his lips, her blood, told a different story. Kale staggered backward, pressing himself against the wall. His hands shook, his face twisted with anguish. "I marked you," he whispered. "Gods forgive me, I marked you." Ilara touched her throat with trembling fingers. The bite was already scabbing over, impossibly fast, but she could feel it throbbing in time with her heartbeat. And beneath the pain, something else. A connection, gossamer thin but undeniable, linking her to the man before her. "What does that mean?" she asked. "Marked me how?" Kale's laugh was bitter. "It means I've doomed you. The claiming bite of an alpha binds souls together, and for a human—" His voice broke. "For a human, it's a death sentence." The room tilted. Alara's vision swam, her legs giving out. The last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was Kale lunging forward to catch her, his face a mask of devastation. Then nothing. Alara woke to hushed voices speaking in rapid, worried tones. "Can't be sure how long she has. The mark shouldn't have taken, she's human. Never seen anything like this." Alara's eyes snapped open. She was in her own bed, covered with her worn quilt. Pale morning light filtered through shutters. And standing at the foot of her bed were Ren and Kale, both staring with expressions of profound worry. "Ellie!" Ren rushed to her side. "You're awake. We weren't sure if you'd—" "I'm fine," Alara croaked, though her throat felt like sandpaper. She tried to sit up and gasped as pain lanced through her shoulder. The bite. She touched it gingerly and felt raised skin, hot and tender. "Don't touch it," Kyle said sharply. He hadn't moved from the foot of the bed, maintaining careful distance. "The mark is active." Alara looked down at her shoulder and felt her heart stop. The bite wasn't just a wound. Dark lines spread from it in intricate patterns, like black vines growing beneath her skin. They pulsed faintly with each heartbeat, and when she concentrated, she could feel power thrumming through them. Wild, chaotic power that felt nothing like her own careful, healing magic. "What did you do to me?" she whispered. Kale's face was a mask of guilt. "Something unforgivable. The claiming bite creates a soul bond between mates. It's meant for wolf kind, to mark and bind two hearts as one." He swallowed hard. "Humans rarely survive it. The wild magic is too much for your body to contain. It will consume you from within." Ren made a small sound of distress. "How long?" "Days," Kyle said quietly. "A week at most. Unless—" He stopped, shaking his head. "No, it's impossible." "Unless what?" Alara demanded. "Unless you complete the transformation." His amber eyes met hers. "The mark is trying to change you, to make you like me. If the change succeeds, you'll survive. But humans almost never survive the shift. The pain alone? I've survived worse," Ilara interrupted. But even as she said it, doubt gnawed at her. This wasn't surviving hunger or cold. This was her body trying to become something fundamentally other. "There has to be a way to help her," Ren said fiercely. "Ellie's a healer. She has magic." "Ren, no." Alara's sharp tone cut her sister off. Too late. She watched realization dawn on Kale's face. "You're a healer," he said slowly. "A true healer. Not just herb lore. You have the gift." There was no point denying it. "A small one. I can encourage wounds to close faster, ease fevers. Nothing remarkable." "Nothing remarkable?" Kale moved closer, his expression intense. "Ilara, healing magic is the rarest gift of all. And if you have it, then perhaps... He stopped, staring at the mark on her shoulder with new understanding. That's why you survived the initial bite. Your magic is fighting the change, keeping you alive but preventing the transformation from completing. Is that good or bad? Ren asked. Both. Kale ran a hand through his silver-streaked hair. Her magic is keeping her alive, but it's also using all her life force to fight the change. Eventually, her power will burn out. And then... He didn't finish. Alara felt cold seep through her bones. So I'm dying either way. Slowly from the magic drain, or quickly from a transformation I can't survive. There might be another way. Kale knelt beside the bed. If you accept the mark completely, stop fighting it. Let your magic and my wolf magic merge instead of battling. You said humans don't survive the shift. They rarely do. But you're not entirely human anymore, Alara. The moment I marked you, you became something new. Something that's never existed. His hand hovered over hers, not quite touching. A wolf-born witch. If you can find the balance between both magics. I might live, Alara finished. Or you might die in agony as your body tears itself apart. Kale's voice was rough with emotion. I won't lie to you. The odds are not good. Ren made a choked sound. There has to be something else. A sharp knock at the door made them freeze. Healer Finch? A man's voice called. It's Magistrate Corvus. Open up. Alara's blood turned to ice. Magistrate Corvus was the king's representative, the man who oversaw executions of unnatural creatures. If he was here. The healing room, she hissed at Kale. Hide, now. But Kale was staring at the door with pure fury. Corvus, he growled, the sound all wolf. That's who set the trap. I recognize his scent. Then you definitely need to hide. No. Kale's voice carried absolute authority. No more hiding, no more running. He looked at her, and in his eyes she saw a predator's resolve. I am Kale Stormborn, Alpha King of the Northern Packs, and I will not cower while that murderer stands at her door. Alpha King? Alara and Ren gasped in unison. Before either could process this, the door burst open. Magistrate Corvus strode in with 4 armed guards, his cold eyes sweeping the cottage with obvious distaste. Healer Finch, you stand accused of harboring... He stopped mid-sentence, his gaze landing on Kyle. The color drained from his face. You. Hello, Corvus. Kale's voice was silk over steel. Still murdering innocents and calling it justice? The magistrate recovered quickly, his hand moving to the silver dagger at his belt. The beast lives, and you, healer woman, are guilty of treason. Guards, seize them both. The guards moved forward, silver weapons gleaming. Kale's body tensed. Alara knew with crystal clarity that if violence broke out, they would all die. Stop. Alara stepped between Kale and the guards. He's injured and unarmed. There's no need for... Step aside. Girl, Corvus snarled. Or burn beside him. The casual threat barely registered. But when Corvus's gaze flickered to Ren cowering in the corner, rage bloomed hot in Alara's chest. You won't touch her, she said quietly. I'll do whatever the king's law demands. Corvus smiled coldly. And the law says wolfkind sympathizers share the fate of the beasts they harbor, your sister included. Something inside Alara snapped. Power flooded through her, not her gentle healing magic, but the wild, chaotic force from Kale's mark. It roared through her veins like wildfire, demanding release. She felt her eyes burn, felt energy crackling across her skin. Get out, she said, and her voice echoed with inhuman resonance. The nearest guard stumbled backward, his face pale. Even Corvus looked uncertain. What are you? He breathed. She's mine, Kale growled, moving to stand beside her. His hand found hers, and the moment they touched, the wild magic surged stronger. And if you harm one hair on her head, Corvus, I will hunt you to the ends of the earth, not as a beast, as a king. For a long moment no one moved. Then Corvus laughed, though it sounded forced. A king? You rule nothing but animals, Stormborn. He gestured to his guards. Take them both. The girl too. Let the king decide their fates. The guards advanced. Alara felt Kale's body tense beside her. They were going to fight. They were going to die. Unless. Alara closed her eyes and reached deep within herself, past her gentle healing gift, past her fear, to the wild power pulsing at her core. The mark on her shoulder blazed hot, Kale's wolf magic answering her call. Please, she prayed. Please let this work. She opened her eyes, and the world exploded into light. Power erupted from her in a shockwave that sent the guards flying backward. They crashed into walls, their silver weapons clattering from nerveless hands. Corvus himself was thrown through the open door, landing hard outside. Alara stared at her hands, which glowed with ethereal silver light. She'd never unleashed power like this. Hadn't known she could. Ilara. Kale's voice was odd. How did you— I don't know. She was shaking. I couldn't let them hurt Ren. And the power was there, and I just reached for it. Kale's hand cupped her face. You magnificent, impossible woman. Do you understand what you just did? That wasn't healing magic. That was pure wild force. The kind only the oldest, strongest wolf kind can channel. But I'm not wolf kind. No. His thumb traced her cheekbone. You're something entirely new. Outside, Corvus was shouting for reinforcements. More guards would come, the whole king's army if necessary. We have to run, Ren said, already gathering supplies. They'll track us, Kale said grimly. Corvus won't stop. He broke off, his entire body going rigid. His head snapped toward the north, nostrils flaring. When he looked back at Alara, his eyes blazed with hope. My pack, he breathed. They've found me. They're coming. A howl echoed from the thornwood, then another, then dozens more, a chorus of wolf song that made the hair on Alara's arms stand on end. How many? She asked. Kale's smile was fierce and feral. All of them. The wolf pack arrived like a silver tide. Alara watched from her doorway as dozens of wolves emerged from the forest, their fur gleaming in morning light. They moved with eerie coordination, surrounding the cottage in a protective circle that made the king's guards back away with pale faces. At the front stood the largest wolf Alara had ever seen besides Kale, its coat pure white with silver markings. When it looked at Kale, its amber eyes held intelligence and profound relief. Kale stepped forward, speaking to the wolf in a language that was part human words, part growls that shouldn't have come from a human throat. The white wolf responded, its head turning to regard Alara with curiosity. My second in command, Theron, Kale said. He wants to know if you're the one who saved me. Yes? Alara managed. The white wolf bowed its head toward her, unmistakable respect. Then it shifted, bones cracking and reforming, until a tall man with white blonde hair knelt where the wolf had stood, completely unself-conscious about his nakedness. My lady, Theron said, his voice deep and formal. The northern packs owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You saved our king. I didn't know he was a king, Alara said faintly. He needed help. Which makes your actions even more remarkable. Theron's gaze shifted to Kale, something unreadable passing between them. Your Majesty, we must leave. Now. The king's army is mobilizing. I'm not leaving her, Kale said flatly. You must. Theron's voice was gentle but firm. The magistrate has already sent ravens to the capital. By tomorrow, there will be 1,000 soldiers in this region. If you stay, you lead them to her door. Alara's heart clenched. He's right. If you stay, they'll kill us all. Ren included. Kale's jaw tightened. I won't abandon you after what I've done. You're not abandoning me. You're protecting me. Alara stepped closer. If the king's army finds you here, they'll burn my cottage with all of us inside. But if you're gone, I'm just a healer who is threatened by a beast. She's clever, this maid of yours, Theron observed. She's not my... Kale stopped, his eyes finding the mark on Alara's shoulder. She's not... I didn't mean to. The mark says otherwise, Theron said quietly. The claiming bite doesn't lie, brother. She's yours, and you are hers, whether you intended it or not. The words hung heavy. Alara touched her shoulder, feeling the raised skin where Kale's teeth had pierced her flesh. Mates. The concept should have terrified her. Instead, she felt that gossamer thread connecting her to Kale pull tighter, acknowledging the truth. How long does she have? Theron asked. Days. Maybe a week. Kale's voice was rough. Unless the transformation completes. Then we take her with us. Our healers can guide the shift. No. Kyle's voice cracked like a whip. I won't risk her life on a transformation that kills 9 out of 10 humans. Then you're condemning her to a slower death, Theron said bluntly. The incomplete mark will drain her. She'll weaken, fade, and die. Is that better? Kyle looked at Alara with such anguish it made her chest ache. I don't know, he whispered. A wolf's howl pierced the air, a warning. More guards were coming. Go, Alara said firmly. All of you, get to safety. I'll come back, Kyle promised, moving to stand before her. His hands cupped her face. Do you hear me, Alara? I will come back for you, and I'll find a way to save you. I know. And strangely, she did. Could feel his determination through that thin thread. Kale leaned down, his forehead touching hers in a gesture so intimate it stole her breath. 3 weeks, he murmured. Give me 3 weeks to secure my borders. Then I'll return, and we'll face this together. I swear it. 3 weeks, Alara agreed. He pulled back, his thumb tracing her lower lip. Stay alive for me. Then he was kissing her. Not her throat this time, but her mouth, deep and desperate and achingly tender. Alara melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, tasting the promise and regret on his lips. When they broke apart, Theron was diplomatically studying the sky. We really must go, Your Majesty. Kale stepped back, and Alara watched as his body began to shift. Bones cracked, skin sprouted silver-gray fur, his face elongating into a wolf's muzzle. The transformation was simultaneously beautiful and terrible. Where Kale had stood, now stood a wolf with amber eyes and silver-gray fur that marked him as different from all the others, as more. He patted to her one last time, his huge head pressing against her chest. Then he was gone, melting into the forest with his pack, leaving Alara with her heart in her throat and tears streaming down her face. He'll come back, Ren said softly. I know he will. I know, Alara whispered. But even as she said it, she felt the mark pulse with pain, and she wondered if 3 weeks would be too long. 3 weeks later, Alara woke gasping, her body drenched in sweat and her shoulder burning. The mark had spread. The dark lines now covered half her chest, creeping toward her heart. But it was the dreams slowly driving her mad. Every night for 3 weeks, she'd dreamed of Kale. Vivid, intense dreams where he came to her in darkness, where they talked and touched, and he whispered promises she couldn't understand but somehow felt. Dreams where she could taste his kiss, feel his hands on her skin, hear him call her mate and heart and mine. Dreams that felt more real than waking. This morning, she'd woken with the phantom sensation of his arms around her, his scent still clinging to her sheets. Except it was impossible. He was hundreds of miles away, securing his borders. You're getting worse, Ren said from the doorway. Ellie, you barely ate yesterday. I'm fine. The lie was automatic. In truth, Alara could barely make it through a full day without needing to rest. The mark was draining her. You're not fine. You're dying. Ren's voice broke. And I can't. I can't lose you too. Alara forced herself to sit up, ignoring the way the room spun. You won't lose me. Kale will be back soon. A sharp knock interrupted her. Both sisters froze. Healer Finch, a woman's voice called. I need your services, it's urgent. Ilara and Ren exchanged glances. The voice was unfamiliar, refined. Not a villager. Coming, Ilara called, quickly pulling on a shawl to hide the mark. She opened the door to find a well-dressed woman, her fine cloak and jewelry marking her as nobility. Healer Finch? I'm Lady Sereni. The woman's smile was warm, but her eyes calculating. I've traveled from the capital to seek your services. May I come in? Every instinct screamed danger, but refusing would be suspicious. Of course, my lady. Lady Sereni entered, her gaze sweeping the humble cottage. I apologize for the early hour, but my need is dire. I've been told you have exceptional healing abilities. Ilara's blood chilled. I know herbs and basic healing. Come now. Lady Sereni's smile sharpened. Don't be modest. I've heard remarkable stories. Wounds healing impossibly fast. And recently, her gaze fixed on Ilara's shoulder where the shawl had slipped. A burst of magical power that threw armed guards across a room. Ilara pulled the shawl tighter. I don't know what you've heard. I'm not here to harm you. Lady Sereni's voice softened. I'm here to help you. Help me with what? With the mark that's killing you. Lady Sereni gestured to Ilara's shoulder. Did you think you could hide it? The claiming bite of an alpha king? Every magical creature within 100 miles can sense it. Ren stepped protectively in front of Ilara. Who are you, really? I told you. Lady Sereni. The woman's smile turned knowing. Though perhaps I should be more specific. I'm the king's chief advisor on magical affairs, and I've been tracking the Alpha King for months. Ilara's heart hammered. If you're here to arrest me, I'm here to make you an offer. Lady Sereni pulled a small vial from her cloak. Inside, silvery liquid swirled with its own light. Purified moon water, enhanced with suppression spells. It will stop the mark's spread, halt the transformation, and keep you alive. Ilara stared at the vial. Why would you help me? Because you're valuable. Lady Sereni's mask slipped, revealing cold calculation. A human who survived a claiming bite this long is unprecedented. Your body, your magic, your connection to the Alpha King, all valuable to my research. Research into what? Into how to kill them, of course. Lady Sereni's smile was razor sharp. The wolf kind are a plague, but they're difficult to track, harder to trap. You, however, she gestured to Ilara's mark. You're connected to their king. I can use that connection to find them, to destroy them all. No. Ilara backed away. I won't help you murder them. Then you'll die. Lady Sereni's voice was flat. The mark will consume you within days. This moon water is your only chance. Take it, help me, and live. Refuse, and die slowly while your precious Alpha King watches from afar. Get out! Ren snarled. Lady Sereni sighed, tucking the vial away. You have until sunset to decide. After that, she moved to the door. Oh, and don't think about running. I have soldiers watching this cottage. The door closed with ominous finality. Ilara sank onto her cot, hands shaking. She's right. I'm dying, Ren. I can feel it. Then we find another way. Ren's voice was fierce. We don't need her poisoned water. We'll... Pain exploded through Ilara's shoulder. She screamed, clutching the mark as fire raced through her veins. The dark lines spread visibly, creeping across her chest, reaching toward her heart. Her vision blurred, her lungs seizing. Through the agony, she felt something else, a frantic pulling on that thread connecting her to Kale, as if he'd sensed her pain and was desperately trying to reach her. Hold on, she thought she heard his voice whisper. Hold on, I'm coming. But sunset was only hours away, and Alara knew with terrible certainty that she didn't have that long. Alara lasted until mid-afternoon before the pain became unbearable. She'd spent hours trying every healing technique she knew. Herbs to slow the mark's spread, meditation to calm the wild magic, even attempting to channel her healing gift into the wound, though all that accomplished was leaving her more drained. Nothing worked. The mark was winning. "I'm going to the magistrate," Ren announced. "They have healers from the capital." "No." Ilara's voice was weak but firm. "You stay away from Corvus." "Then what do we do? Just watch you die?" Before Ilara could answer, another knock sounded. Both sisters tensed, but the voice was familiar. "Ilara? It's Mira. Please, I need your help." Mira, their neighbor, a kind widow who'd helped them survive their first winter. Ilara gestured for Ren to open the door. Mira rushed in, tear-streaked and panicked. "Thank the gods! It's my grandson. He fell from the barn loft and I think his leg is broken. I know you've been unwell, but please—" "Of course." Ilara forced herself to stand. "Let me get my supplies." "Ellie, you can barely walk," Ren protested. "A child needs help." Ilara gathered her herb pouch with shaking hands. The walk to Mira's cottage was agony. Each step sent fire through Ilara's shoulder. But she'd made a vow. Those who needed help came first. Mira led her not to the cottage but to the barn. "He's inside. I didn't want to move him." Something about the woman's tone made Ilara hesitate. "Mira? I'm sorry." Mira whispered. "I'm so sorry. But they said they'd hurt him if I didn't." The door burst open. Guards poured out, seizing Ilara before she could run. She screamed, fighting, but they were too many and she was too weak. "No, let her go." Ren's voice rang out. Her sister had followed. "The girl too," a cold voice commanded. Lady Serena emerged from the barn. "She'll be useful leverage." "You promised you wouldn't hurt my grandson," Mira cried. "And I won't. He's perfectly safe, unharmed." Lady Serene's smile was cruel. "I simply needed bait. Thank you for your cooperation." They dragged Ilara and Ren into the barn. Inside, it had been converted into a laboratory, glass vessels bubbling with strange liquids, silver chains hanging from rafters, and at the center, a chair with restraints designed to hold something large and strong. "Strip her shirt," Lady Serene commanded. "I want to see the mark clearly." "Don't touch her." Ren fought like a wildcat, but a guard struck her, sending her sprawling. Rage flooded through Ilara, giving her strength. She lashed out with her magic. One guard flew backward, slamming into the wall. Another screamed as his silver weapon heated until he had to drop it. But Lady Serene simply smiled and pulled out a small silver dagger. She sliced her own palm and spoke words in a language that made Ilara's ears ring. The magic in the air changed. Suddenly, Ilara couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Invisible chains wrapped around her, pinning her in place. "Blood magic," Lady Serene said casually. "Illegal, but remarkably effective." She gestured to guards. "Let's see this mark properly." Guards tore Ilara's shirt at the shoulder, exposing the spreading corruption. The dark lines now covered most of her chest. "Fascinating," Lady Serene breathed, producing a notebook. "Far more advanced than anticipated. And look, it's still spreading." She gestured to a guard. "Bring the silver solution." "What are you doing?" Ilara gasped. "Science." Lady Serene accepted a vial of silvery liquid. "We've been trying to weaponize silver against the wolf kind for years, but we needed a living test subject with an active connection to them, and you, my dear, are perfect." She poured the solution directly onto Ilara's mark. The pain was immediate and excruciating. Ilara screamed as the silver burned into her skin, eating away at the dark lines like acid. She could feel it traveling through her veins, poisoning the connection to Kale, trying to destroy the bond itself. And through that bond, she felt him. Felt Kale's answering roar of agony as the silver attacked what linked them. "Excellent," Lady Sereni murmured, scribbling notes. The bond allows for shared sensation. Any weapon we use against her will affect him, even across distances. You're torturing him, Alara sobbed. You're hurting him through me. That's the idea. And if I apply enough silver, enough pain. Lady Sereni's smile was vicious. He'll come running, and when he does, we'll be ready. You're using me as bait. A trap. The Alpha King is notoriously difficult to kill, but if he's distracted, weakened by the bond's pain, walking into an ambush? Lady Sereni nodded to herself. We'll finally end the wolfkind's reign. He won't come, Alara lied desperately. He barely knows me. Because you're his mate. Lady Sereni's laugh was brittle. Wolfkind mate for life. They literally cannot survive without their other half. He has no choice but to come, even knowing it's a trap. Alara's heart sank. It was true. She could feel it through their bond. Kale's desperation, his fury, his single-minded determination to reach her. He was coming, and he would die because of her. Stop this, Ren pleaded. Please, she's done nothing. She consorted with beasts, she's corrupted by their magic, and she's useful. Lady Sereni prepared another vial of silver. That's all that matters. The barn door exploded inward. Wolves poured through, snarling. They moved like liquid death, tearing through guards with brutal efficiency. Silver weapons clattered as men screamed and fled. But these weren't Kale's pack. The wolves were smaller, darker, their eyes gleaming with wild madness. And leading them was the largest wolf Alara had ever seen, even bigger than Kale, its coat midnight black, and its eyes burning crimson. Lady Sereni went pale. Impossible. The feral packs never leave the deep wilderness. The black wolf shifted mid-stride until a man stood in its place. He was tall and scarred, his dark hair shot through with silver, his eyes still glowing that unsettling red. You've made a grave mistake, witch, he growled, his voice rough and accented. That woman bears the mark of my nephew, and no one harms what belongs to the Stormborn line. Your nephew? Alara gasped. The man's red eyes fixed on her, and something in his expression softened. Kale's uncle, Lord Darien of the Deep Wilds. He turned back to Lady Sereni, baring teeth that were still half-wolf. Release her, now. I answer only to the king, Lady Sereni snarled, raising her bloody palm. Her words cut off in a scream as Darien moved faster than thought, his hand wrapping around her throat. The king is not here. I am. He tossed Lady Sereni aside. The woman crashed into her equipment, glass shattering around her. Darien approached Alara, his wolves circling protectively. With surprising gentleness, he broke the blood magic holding her, then caught her as her legs gave out. Easy, little witch. You're safe now. Kale, Alara gasped. She hurt him through the bond. I felt him. He's on his way. Felt your pain from over 100 miles away and nearly killed his own pack trying to reach you. Darien lifted her easily. But I was closer. Lucky for you, I've been tracking this particular human for weeks. He carried her from the barn, his wolves retrieving Ren. Outside, the afternoon sun was setting, painting the sky blood red. Alara felt the mark pulse again, and, through their bond, she sensed Kale's proximity. He was close. So close. He can't come here, she said urgently. It's a trap. There are more soldiers hidden. I know. Darien's smile was feral. Why do you think my wolves are still here? Howls erupted from the forest. Dozens, maybe hundreds. The hidden soldiers Lady Sereni had positioned broke cover, fleeing as waves of wolves pursued them. You brought an army, Alara whispered. 2 armies. Mine and Kale's. We've been coordinating since he felt your distress. Darien looked down at her, his red eyes holding grudging respect. He was right about you. You are remarkable. Movement at the forest edge drew every eye. A wolf emerged from the trees, its amber eyes blazing with fury and fear and desperate relief. Kyle. He shifted as he ran, his wolf form blurring into human until he reached them as a man. Darian lowered Alara carefully into Kyle's waiting arms. "You came," she breathed. "Always." His voice was rough with emotion. His hands shook as they traced her face, her shoulders, checking for injuries. When his gaze landed on the silver burns on her mark, his eyes flashed wolf gold with rage. "What did they do to you?" "Used me as bait. To trap you." Alara's hand cupped his cheek. "You shouldn't have come. It's what they wanted." "I don't care what they wanted." He pulled her closer, burying his face in her hair. "You called to me through the bond. You were in pain. In danger. Did you really think I wouldn't come?" Through their connection, Alara felt the depth of his fear, the absoluteness of his devotion. This man would tear the world apart for her. "We need to go," Darian said quietly, "before human reinforcements arrive." "I'm taking her to the Northern Territories," Kale said. "She needs our healers." "She needs you to complete the bond," Darian interrupted bluntly. "Look at her, nephew. She's dying. The mark is consuming her. The only way to save her now is to finish what you started." Kale's arms tightened around Alara. "She's too weak. The transformation might kill her." "Doing nothing will kill her." Darian's voice gentled. "You know what needs to happen. You've always known." Alara felt Kale's heart hammering against her cheek, felt his anguish through their bond. He was terrified of losing her. "Kale," she whispered, drawing his gaze. "I trust you." "You shouldn't," he said hoarsely. "I've brought you nothing but danger and pain." "You've brought me you." She managed a weak smile. "And that's enough." His eyes closed, agony written across his face. Then he was lifting her, cradling her against his chest as he began to run. Alara caught one last glimpse of the burning barn, of Lady Sereni being dragged away by Darian's wolves, of Ren riding safely on the back of the white wolf. Theron. Then the world blurred into motion as Kale ran with supernatural speed, his pack flowing around them like a protective tide. The last thing Alara saw before darkness claimed her was the blood. Moon rising over the mountains, full and red and ancient. Alara woke to silver light and singing. For a moment she thought she was dreaming, one of those vivid, impossible dreams where Kale held her and whispered promises. But the surface beneath her was too solid, too real. Stone, carved with intricate symbols that glowed with their own light. "Easy." Warm hands steadied her. "You're safe. You're in the heart of our territory." Alara's vision cleared, revealing a massive cavern lit by hundreds of moon-silver crystals, and surrounding her were wolves, dozens of them, sitting in a great circle around the carved stone where she lay. They were singing, their voices rising and falling in haunting harmony. "What is this place?" she whispered. "The bonding circle." Kale knelt beside her, his amber eyes intense with worry and hope. "Sacred ground where my kind complete the mate bond. The magic here is old and strong. If the transformation is going to work anywhere, it's here." Alara looked down and gasped. The mark had spread further. The dark lines now covered her entire torso, creeping down her arms and up her neck. She could feel them pulsing with her weakening heartbeat. "How long was I unconscious?" 6 hours. Kyle's jaw clenched. "The moon is at its peak. If we're going to attempt this, it has to be now." "Attempt what, exactly?" "The completion ritual." A new voice spoke. Theron, in human form, standing at the circle's edge. "When an alpha claims a mate, the bond must be finished before the next full moon. Otherwise, the incomplete magic consumes both parties." "Both?" Alara looked at Kale and noticed for the first time how haggard he appeared. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his skin had taken on an unhealthy pallor. "You're dying too?" "The bond goes both ways," he admitted. "When I marked you, I tied my life to yours. If you die..." He didn't finish. Horror washed through Alara. "You never told me. All this time, you've been dying, yes, but slowly. Kyle's hand found hers. You have it worse. The incomplete mark is attacking your human body, trying to force the change. My body is just grieving, mourning a mate bond that will never be completed. Then complete it. Alara sat up fully. Do whatever needs to be done. You don't understand what you're asking. Kale's voice was anguished. The completion ritual requires you to willingly accept the wolf spirit, to let it merge with your soul, your magic, everything you are. Most humans die the moment the transformation begins. But some survive? 1 in 10. Maybe. Theron stepped closer, his expression grave. And those who do are never fully human again. You would become something new. Something that belongs to two worlds but truly fits in neither. Alara looked around the circle at the assembled wolves, at the glowing symbols, at Kale's desperate eyes. And if I refuse? We both die, Kale said simply. Me from the severed bond, you from the incomplete transformation. Within days, maybe hours. That's not really a choice. It is. Kyle's grip tightened. You can choose to die as yourself, fully human, or risk everything for a chance at survival as something other. That's a choice, Alara, and it's yours alone. Alara closed her eyes, reaching deep within herself. The wild magic from Kale's mark pulsed through her veins, chaotic and powerful. But beneath it, she could still feel her own gentle healing gift, quieter but persistent. Two magics, trying to destroy each other when they should be working together. What do I have to do? She asked, opening her eyes. Relief and terror warred on Kale's face. Accept me. Accept the wolf. Accept all of it. The bond, the transformation, the life it will bring. You have to want it, Ilara. Not just to survive, but because you truly choose this path. And you? Ilara cupped his face. What do you have to do? Complete the claiming. His eyes burned into hers. Bite you again, but this time you'll be conscious, aware, and you'll have to bite me back to seal the bond. The wolves around them began to sing louder, their voices building to a crescendo that made the crystals pulse with light. It's time, Theron announced. The moon reaches its apex. Kale stood, pulling Alara with him. At the center of the circle, someone had placed furs and soft moss, creating a bed. He led her there, his hand never leaving hers. Last chance to refuse, he said quietly. I won't force this on you. For answer, Alara pulled him down to her, her lips finding his in a kiss that was desperate and tender, and filled with all the words she didn't know how to speak. When they broke apart, she saw tears tracking down his cheeks. I choose this, she whispered against his mouth. I choose you. Something in his expression broke and reformed, like ice cracking to reveal rushing water beneath. Then, let me show you what you've accepted. He shifted. The transformation was slower this time, more controlled. Alara watched in awe as his body flowed from human to wolf, muscles and bones reshaping, silver-gray fur rippling across his skin. When the change completed, the wolf regarded her with those same amber eyes that held so much intelligence and love that her breath caught. The wolf lowered its head, pressing its forehead to hers. Through their bond, she felt him asking permission, felt his desperate need mingled with his terror of hurting her. Yes, she said aloud, complete it. The wolf's teeth found her throat, sinking deep into the already marked flesh. Pain exploded through Alara, white-hot and overwhelming. But this time, she didn't try to fight it. She let the wild magic flood through her, let it crash against her own healing power in waves of fire and lightning. Her body began to change. It started in her bones. She could feel them cracking, reforming, reshaping. Her spine elongated, her joints reversed, her skull began to transform. The pain was beyond anything she'd ever imagined, beyond description, beyond thought. She should have been screaming, should have been begging for it to stop. Instead, she found herself growling, a sound that was part human pain and part wolf determination. Through it all, she could feel Kale, his strength flowing into her through the bite, his magic twining with hers, his presence a constant anchor in the sea of agony. He was holding her together, pouring his own life force into her to give her body the strength to complete the change. The transformation accelerated. Fur rippled across her skin, white as snow with silver markings that matched the patterns of her healing magic. Her senses exploded outward. Suddenly she could smell everything, hear the heartbeat of every wolf in the circle, and taste the magic in the air. And then it was done. Alara stood on 4 legs, her body that of a white wolf with eyes that still glowed with her human consciousness, now shining amber like Kale's. She could feel his presence through their bond, stronger now, clear as crystal. The silver-gray wolf released her throat and stepped back. Then he shifted again, flowing back into his human form. "You did it," he breathed, his voice thick with wonder and relief. "Ilara, you survived." But the ritual wasn't complete. Ilara could feel it. The bond was stronger, yes, but still not finished. She needed to claim him back, to seal it from both sides. She tried to shift, reaching for her human form. Her body resisted at first, the wolf form feeling too new, too strange. Then her healing magic surged, and suddenly she understood. The wolf and her magic weren't enemies. They were partners. She just needed to find the balance. The shift back to human was easier than expected, guided by instinct older than thought. When she stood before Kale on 2 legs again, naked and trembling but undeniably alive, she saw fierce pride in his eyes. "Bite me," he commanded softly. "Claim me as yours, as I have claimed you." Ilara didn't hesitate. She pulled him down, her teeth finding the spot where his neck met his shoulder, the same place he'd marked her. She bit down hard, tasting copper and magic and the wild essence that made him who he was. Kale's arms came around her, holding her close as she completed the bond. Through the connection, she felt everything he felt. His overwhelming love, his relief so profound it was painful, his joy that she'd survived against all odds. When she released him, blood staining her lips, the bond snapped into place. It was like coming home after a lifetime of wandering, like finding a missing piece of her soul she'd never known was gone. Ilara could feel Kale in her mind, in her heart, woven into the very fabric of her being. And she knew he could feel her just as clearly. "Mine," she whispered, echoing the word he'd spoken weeks ago in the burning forest. "Yours," he agreed, his forehead touching hers. "Always yours, my heart, my mate, my everything." The wolves around them erupted in celebration, their voices rising in howls of joy that echoed through the cavern. The crystals blazed with silver light, and Alara felt magic wash over them both, blessing them, sealing them, accepting them as one. Theron approached, a rare smile on his usually stern face. "Welcome to the pack, Luna, first human to survive the claiming in over 3 centuries." "Luna?" Alara asked. "The Alpha King's mate," Theron explained. "You're our queen now, Alara, the Luna of the Northern Packs." The weight of that title should have terrified her. Instead, Alara looked at the assembled wolves, her pack, and felt only a fierce sense of belonging. "What about Wren?" she asked suddenly. "And Lady Seren? The king's soldiers?" "Your sister is safe in the guest quarters, being thoroughly spoiled by the pack mothers," Kyle assured her. "As for the humans," his expression hardened. "My Uncle Darian is dealing with them. By morning, Lady Sereni will be explaining to her king why she attacked the mate of the Northern Alpha. It will not go well for her." "Will there be war?" "Perhaps." Kale's hand cupped her face. "But that's a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, I just want to hold the miracle of you being alive." He pulled her down onto the furs, cradling her against his chest. Alara melted into him, feeling safe for the first time in weeks. Around them, the pack began to disperse, giving their alpha and his new mate privacy. "I can feel you," Alara whispered, pressing her hand over his heart. "Feel everything you feel. It's overwhelming." It fades to background after a while, becomes natural. Kale's fingers combed through her hair. "Though the emotions stay strong, I'll always know what you're feeling, as you'll know me." "Good." Alara looked up at him. "I don't want any secrets between us." "Then you should know. I loved you the moment I woke in your cottage and saw you fighting to save a stranger who could have killed you." His voice was rough with emotion. "I loved you when you gave up your last treasure to save a wolf in the forest. I loved you when you stood between me and armed guards despite being terrified. Every moment since has only made me love you more." Tears spilled down Alara's cheeks. "I didn't know if what I felt was real or just the bond." "It's real," Kale promised. "The bond doesn't create love. It only amplifies what's already there. What you feel for me is yours, Alara. Real and true, and entirely your own." "Then I love you too," she whispered. "My alpha, my mate, my Kale." He kissed her then, deep and claiming and infinitely gentle. And Alara kissed him back, pouring all her love and relief and joy into the connection between them. When they finally broke apart, breathless and tangled together on the furs, Kale spoke against her lips. "Welcome home, Luna." And looking around the crystal-lit cavern, feeling her pack's presence through the bond, with Kale's arms around her and his heart beating against hers, Alara realized he was right. She was, finally, home. 3 months later, Alara stood on the balcony of the northern palace, watching the sun set over the mountains. Behind her, she could hear Wren's laughter mixed with the playful growls of the young wolves she'd befriended. Her sister had adapted to pack life with fearless enthusiasm. "You're brooding again," Kale said, his arms wrapping around her waist from behind. "I can feel it through the bond." "Not brooding, thinking." Alara leaned back into his warmth. "Lady Sereni escaped custody last week. The king sent assassins twice this month. And there are rumors of more anti-wolf legislation." "All true." Kale's chin rested on top of her head. "And all problems we'll face together. You and me, the pack behind us." "I just wish," Ilara sighed, "I wish we could have peace." "We will. Eventually." His hand splayed across her stomach where their child, impossible, miraculous, was just beginning to grow. "Our daughter will live in a world where wolf and human can exist without war. I swear it." "Daughter?" Alara turned in his arms. "The healer said it's too early to know." "I know." Kale's eyes glowed with that wolf gold that still made her heart race. "I can sense her through our bond, strong-willed, fierce, and entirely ours." Alara pressed her hand over his, feeling the new life blooming within her. A child who would be born of both worlds, human and wolf, healing magic and wild power. "She'll be remarkable," Alara said softly. "Like her mother." Kale kissed her temple. "Who saved a burning wolf with her last drop of hope, and in doing so, saved an entire kingdom." Ilara smiled, turning to watch the last rays of sunlight paint the mountains gold. The path ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be battles to fight, enemies to face, and a world to change. But with Kale beside her, their daughter growing within her, and an entire pack at her back, Alara knew they would face it all. Together. Always together.